Good morning, everybody. My name is Craig Alfred. I'm General Manager at Uniware. I'd like to welcome everyone to our webinar on AccuTerm, which will give an update on 7.3, as well as a bit of a sneak peek into the developments for version 8. I appreciate everyone's busy, and it is an honour to have you all find the time to attend our webinar. So I'll give you a bit of a brief on Uniware before I hand over to Pete to perform the webinar. Uniware's been in the multi-value industry since 1979, so it's closing on 40 odd years. During that time, we've been providing specialist technology primarily to the multi-value industry. We are located in Melbourne with offices in Perth and also within Sydney. Uniware entered into a distribution agreement with Zumasys last year. The primary reason for that was to provide our customers with more options. We have been and continue to be a reseller of the Rocket products. We have an exceptionally good relationship with Rocket. We're just extending our offerings to our customers and prospects with the Zumasys products, JBase and OpenQM. Uniware have approximately 20 multi-value programmers and developers on staff, as well as a number of open source developers in the PHP and Python realms, as well as .NET, Microsoft .NET programmers, both internally and in our office that we do have in China, where we have 5 dedicated Microsoft programmers that assist us with application development and so on. Uniware does and has provided over the years resources to customers, as well as organisations that do require multi-value services, and we do continue to provide those services well into the future. So our goal or aim is to inform the multi-value market of the latest technologies that are available, to integrate with the multi-value databases, to modernise and enhance what you already have, as well as giving you the options of the Rocket software databases in D3, Unidata and Universe, as well as the Zumasys products, JBase and OpenQM. You'll see on the screen here, there is a chat box that'll be on your screen. You can enter in any questions you may well have, and we will get back to you at the conclusion of the webinar. So it is with pleasure that I now hand you over to Pete Schellenbach. Pete is the Director of Product Development at Zumasys, well versed in all their technologies and somewhat of an expert with AccuTerm. So I'll now hand you over to Pete. Thanks, Pete.
Thank you very much, Craig. So as Craig said, I am the Director of Product Development at Zumasys. I've been with Zumasys about 4 years now, and before Zumasys, I was AccuSoft. I've been doing multi-value since sometime in the 70s, not exactly sure, 75 maybe. Anyway, it's been quite a long time and an amazing journey. Still love doing it. About mid-80s, we came out with the first AccuTerm version for MS-DOS, and it was like, well, this is kind of a, a 4-year product, and here we are, like 30 years later, still selling AccuTerm. So I guess it lasted longer than we thought. Anyway, I wanted to go over the current state of AccuTerm and the roadmap for the upcoming AccuTerm 8. Currently, we're on AccuTerm release 7.3, which just came out just over a month ago, and it was an interesting new release. There were a few bug fixes, which we'll go into some of the details in a minute, but we added a couple of premium features, which is kind of a fun thing now because we haven't done that before. AccuTerm 8 is in development. AccuTerm 8 is going to consist of 3 components: a desktop app, a web app, and a mobile app. The desktop app will have an updated user interface. Otherwise, it'll be very similar to AccuTerm 7 and what it can do, with some new security things. The web version is an HTML browser-based version of AccuTerm. Right now, we're having trouble keeping the cloud version running because the browser vendors keep turning off our plugins. So this is going to be a replacement for that technology. And then we have a mobile version currently out, and the mobile version will be enhanced to be at the same level as the AccuTerm 8 web version. So currently we're on release 7.3, which, as I said, came out just about a month ago. And we added some premium features, and we added a maintenance subscription to AccuTerm, which is also a very new thing. When you subscribe to maintenance, it enables these two new features, Resume Session Resilience and File Report, which is a point-and-click report building tool. The File Report's available as a basic version for free, bundled with AccuTerm when you subscribe. There's also a professional version, which adds some really nice high-end features. Other than that, in AccuTerm 7.3, we fixed a few bugs. There's people out there probably running AccuTerm on their Surface Pro and notice how some of the lines and the edges don't quite match up, and all that's been fixed in the 7.3 update. And some problems with pasting. People paste stuff from websites with these funny curly quotes in them, and they would come through, and when you paste them into PIC, it's like underscores, which wasn't very happy. All those have been repaired. And a little SSH bug, and the extra screens in AccuTerm, like when you open up the web editor or the file transfer wizard, sometimes would not land on the right monitor. So now they should land on the same monitor you start from, which makes things just a little nicer. But the main part of 7.3 were these two new premium features. So as I said, AccuTerm 8, we're still in development. And it's going to be 3 components: desktop, web, and mobile. The mobile will be for iOS and Android, just like the current mobile version. And the desktop we're still targeting as a Windows application. One of the interesting things that we're doing with AccuTerm 8 is that there will be a customer portal at Zumasys that will manage your licenses, your users, your session profiles, which are the ATCF files that you would have locally, and templates, which is a new concept where you can say, as an admin, you can build templates for power users or regular users or office staff, and then when a user gets assigned to AccuTerm, they would start with a particular profile. The profiles will be shareable between the different components. So you'll be able to use the same profile on the desktop, on the web, and on the mobile, because the profiles themselves will be stored in the customer portal under that particular user's storage area. So the AccuTerm 8 desktop will have the same 2 premium features that we have now: the Session Resilience, Resume, and the File Report basic report tool. File transfers are going to be much faster. And one of the cool things that we're adopting for the desktop version is WebSockets. So right now, the desktop version of AccuTerm does Telnet and Secure Shell, and then Telnet over SSL for secure SSL connections. The web version is going to be limited to WebSockets because browsers just do not allow other ways of doing networking. So we're just going to add that same feature to the desktop version as well. The SSH encryption is going to be improved, adding new Diffie-Hellman elliptic curve crypto and some advanced hashing. The current crypto seems to be fine. As far as we know, there's no exploits to anything there, but people keep mumbling about wanting stronger encryption. So it will happen in AccuTerm 8. And then the user interface is going to be updated a little bit to make it a little more modern. AccuTerm 8 on web is pure HTML and JavaScript implementation. It should run in any browser and on phones and on tablets. It does not use any plugins, which is the problem we're having with the AccuTerm Cloud that we have now. As I mentioned, the customer portal at Zumasys will be where where it's launched from and where the profile information is maintained. It will support the same emulations that we do with the standard AccuTerm, the Ys and Ads and PC monitor that everybody is, everybody knows and loves. Will work just the same on the web version as they do on the desktop. We'll also include the resume session resilience and eventually the file report. The file report tool is implemented using AccuTerm GUI, and GUI is probably not going to be available in the first version of the web, but will be added in the future. Some simple scripting will be supported, but not the full VBA scripting that we use right now with the desktop AccuTerm. The browser just has so many security restrictions. We can't do the same amount of control that is allowed on a desktop app. And as I mentioned before, the connection will be made over secure WebSockets, which are allowed through a browser where we would be unable to do Telnet or SSH connections out of the browser. The mobile version of AccuTerm will be available on both iOS and Android, just like it is now. It'll be updated to add the secure WebSockets, which is not available in the current version. Also, we'll be adding public key authentication for the SSH connections on the mobile version. Right now, only password and interactive authentication supported. So this will add new support for key-based authentication. And of course, the resume feature. And something a lot of people have asked for, being able to scan barcodes using the camera on the mobile device, on your phone or whatever, just to be able to take a picture of a barcode and have it entered into your application. Limited scripting and GUI coming soon. Probably the same time that we do GUI on the web version, we'll be able to add it to the mobile version, which is be very exciting. That would open up the ability to do things like the file reports that on a mobile. So one of the highlights of 7.3 and then continuing to 8 is resume. What this is it's a feature that allows a user's SSH or Telnet, actually SSH connections only right now, to be tolerant of temporary network interruptions. One of the problems that we've received over the years, one of the most common support issues is, how come my computer disconnects from the network? Can you fix that? And the problem is we can't fix that because the network is the internet and it's shared by everybody, and it usually works. Terminals always, all terminals use Telnet, SSH or WebSocket connections over TCP. TCP is the underlying protocol, and that's where the problem occurs. So if TCP detects that there's an outage in your network, it notifies both sides that there's a problem and the connection closes. What happens at the application side is that when the connection closes, it receives some kind of a signal saying that there's a problem, and typically your application is shut down in the middle of whatever you were doing. And it causes all kinds of misery. Hung ports is one of those common problems where people are using like nailed ports and they can't get back in because their port's still tied up with the previous thing and it hasn't gone away, and causes extra work for admins to clear those things up. Whatever users are in the middle of is probably lost, and so it leads to frustration. So that was the problem we were trying to solve here. In order to make this work, we need to install a small utility on the server. And right now this is only available for Linux and AIX servers. And that little utility gives us a way to make the application insulated from the actual connection. So if the connection does die, this little resume utility will keep the application running until we can reconnect. And then it handles the reconnect process for us. On the client, then, when you reconnect, there's a button that says resume, and the two ends, the client in AccuTerm and the server, exchange information, and the session then resumes exactly where it left off. So if you were in the middle of typing when the network burped, the things that you had typed would be transmitted to the application once the connection started up again. And vice versa, if the server was in the middle of like updating your page on your screen and this happened, it would continue that screen update exactly where it left off once you resume. To help with management of this, if a user for some reason does not resume, the session that the user was connected to becomes an orphan. So I mean, it's still running. The application thinks it's still a user, but the user's gone home or whatever, closed AccuTerm, and he's gone. So there is a way to set a timeout on those sessions so that they will clean up after a certain amount of time. I think by default we set that at 30 minutes. So that also limits the amount of time you have to wait for your network to come back. But most network interruptions seem to be fairly short, you know, within a minute. Resume right now is available on AccuTerm 7.3 with maintenance subscription, and it will be available on AccuTerm 8 too. So it's a cool feature. I would show it to you. I can do a demo of it. The problem with doing a live demo is that we're doing a webinar over my internet connection, and when I turn off my internet connection to trick the resume to happen, I also lose my webinar connection. So it's a problem with doing two things on the same network. So the other premium feature in AccuTerm 7.3 is the File Report Builder. And this is a point and click GUI tool built on AccuTerm GUI for building reports that help extract data out of your MB database. The reports are rendered as Excel worksheets, and you can also save them as PDF files. With the basic version, you cannot automatically email them, but that's one of the features on the Pro version is to email the PDF after you created it to some other user or the Excel spreadsheet. The report builder uses the file dictionary to describe the data from your system, and then there's an area where you can enter in your selection criteria, and it's kind of a point and click. You drop down a list that shows which fields that you want to select on and what your criteria are. Enter the fixed things or prompt users for variable things. The basic version is included with AccuTerm 7.3 and 8 if you have maintenance, and the professional version is available for sale additionally. The professional version has the automatic email feature. It also can generate the report output as JSON or OData for integrating with other applications. One of the nice features of the professional version is that instead of using raw dictionaries to describe your data, you can build custom views of the data on top of those dictionaries, and you can build different views for different purposes, even with the same underlying dictionary. This also helps with the case where you might have a dictionary that's been built up over the last 25 years with 500 items in it that nobody knows what they are. And you can go through and put those things that are important into a particular data view and only use that view of the dictionary instead of the entire dictionary. There's a tool to run reports from TCL, and also an API that you can use to embed this into your own application. And I'm going to see if I can switch screens here, and I can see if I can show you a little of the File Reports live. So let's see. Hopefully we're on the AccuTerm screen, and I'm hoping somebody will let me know if I'm not. So there's a new toolbar button. I don't know if you can see this up here for running File Reports. And I click that, we get a little File Report menu on the screen. And the particular version that I have on this session is the Pro version, so I have all of these features available. The main thing though is this report builder. And this is the main report building screen. And it's, basically it's got an area where you pick the kind of report that you want to work on. So I'm going to choose a report that's already built. When I bring that up, it shows me the file that the data is going to come from. If I click the drop-down list here, it shows me other files that I have defined in this account. And I only have views defined for these 3 files, although there are more in the account. And for this particular report, I call today's products, it's showing me the fields in the file that I'm over here at class or price, weight, code. And in this column where it says display, I show the order that I want the fields to be, displayed from left to right. And if I needed to sort them in a particular order, I could put the sorting priority. So if I put a 1 here, it would sort by price first. If I put the 1 in the bottom, it would sort by code first. These numbers don't need to be in exact order. They just you could use numbers by 10. It'll just put them in the order that you put them in. The little run button up here will run a sample of my query that I built up and show us in the little preview window here. This particular preview is set to a sample size of 200, which is much more than the number of items in this file. It's just a very small file. But what it's doing is it's just showing you what it will build if I want to actually create an Excel report with this. In my output tab, I can tell it what I want to do when I create the report. So in this case, the simplest thing is I want to show it in Excel. If I also wanted to print it, I could click on send to printer and then choose a printer. The save as is not available in the basic version. Oh, this is the pro version. I'm sorry. So the save as in the pro version will let me save a PDF, and then I can also, if I save it, I can also email it to someone after it's created. Just so that it doesn't do these on the fly here, I'm going to run this and output it to Excel. I just click the Excel icon in there, and it goes and grabs my data and then sends it down to Excel and formats it as an Excel report. And it's smart enough to pick up column headings from the dictionary, and it's doing every other line highlighted differently. And that's an option you can use in your report parameters here. So the report parameters is a place where you can put in things like headings and footings that show on the Excel page. And if you need to do any special processing on the data, the alternate row colors, we did output, preview, header, footer codes. This is just a list of codes you can stick into the headings and footings in case you need a reference. Raw data is a place you can type in a part of your query just to see what it's going to look like, what data it's generating. And configuration is just how it transfers the data down. So let's go over to the view to see what the view does. If I come to Tools and Data View Manager, and if I pick up that file, which was products, right? And I had a view, I thought I had a view called products. No, I'm not finding the views that I thought that I had. Maybe I'm in a different account. The idea with the views is I can take the columns here from where it says data files dict items and move them over into the view. I'm just going to move them all over, and then I can take each one of these. If I highlight it in the view column, I can come over on this side and I can say, yeah, this is the column width is too small. I want 10. So I can override what was in the dictionary by changing it in the view. So this kind of is like a meta dictionary on top of the dictionary. I can also change things like the headers that are shown in the column headings and the colors, fonts, and styles of the data. I can do things with subtotals. I can put formulas into Excel. Lots of very cool things. And this MV group here is how you do your controlling dependent or associated multi-values. So you can actually say which fields are associated, and they'll be grouped together when it actually builds the report. So that's just kind of a a simple overview of what the FI reports is, but it's a very nice tool to easily get things out of your MV database, and especially nice if you want to like present Excel reports to your users and not have to have them, figure out how to use AccuTerm's file transfer stuff, or how to use Access from GCL, things like that. So very cool little tool. Let's see. Go switch back to the PowerPoint screen here. Secure WebSockets. I mentioned before that AccuTerm right now does network connections using Telnet, Secure Shell, or Telnet over SSL. So AccuTerm 8 is also introducing secure WebSockets. So this is mainly because of the browser's restrictions and not allowing an application or a web page to make actual TCP connections on the user's computer, which would pose horrible security risks. So browsers now support something called WebSockets, and you can do WebSockets over TLS or SSL, so they are secure then. And that is the technology that we're targeting for the AccuTerm web version, and also adding that to the other desktop and mobile versions at the same time. Now, there are no PIC style applications that are going to be listening to WebSocket connections. They mostly are listening to Telnet or SSH connections coming in and then starting up your session when you do that. So in order to accept a WebSocket connection on the server, you'll need to install a small server-side program that accepts the connection. That when the connection comes in as a WebSocket connection, that little utility then will become a proxy and send it either to a real TTY session in Unix or to a Telnet server in Windows. One of the nice things about this is that most of the MV platforms on Windows don't support SSH, and I believe only the U2 products support SSL, Telnet over SSL. So it's rather difficult to do secure connections to MV on Windows. This will eliminate that, because you'll be able to do an SSL or a TLS connection with WebSockets tunneled through it and run that through your multi-value application, even if the multi-value application only does Telnet. One of the problems with doing anything where the server's running SSL or TLS is that you have to have a certificate. The browser or the client will get quite upset if you try to do your own self-signed certificate. Sometimes you can get around it, but it's usually a big pain. So we're looking at adding to the server side a way to do certificates from an organization called Let's Encrypt, where they offer you free server-side SSL certificates. And there's typically an automated process for installing them. So basically, you just fill out some forms and your certificate gets put in. So I think that is the end of all of my AccuTerm details. I think I want to pass this back to Craig.
Thanks, Pete. That was a great presentation. I think from what everyone should be able to garner from that presentation from Pete is that the Zumasys have been putting in a lot of time and effort into AccuTerm to ensure it is one of the leading terminal emulation products. I think their web interface is already very popular, and I think that will just get more popular with the functionality they have added, and as well as the security layers. If you want to have a look at the new version, do contact your current provider of AccuTerm or contact Uniware, and we can organise something for you. This webinar will be made available on our website, so if you want to view it or share it with other people, you can do so. We'll send out the details once it's available and an email following this webinar. So in conclusion, I'd like to thank everyone for attending today's webinar for AccuTerm, and in particular, I'd like to thank Pete Schellenbach from Zumasys in his presentation. I think it does show that AccuTerm is still being significantly developed and is moving to the future interfaces such as with the browsers and so on. Please remember all attendees will be in the draw to win a trip to Zumapalooza in October, and that will include flights, accommodation and entry to the event. It is a terrific event. We did go 18 months ago. It's a very worthwhile attending for 3 days. It's a whole bunch of information that is extremely valuable, and you do get the opportunity to network with other multi-value users, in particular in the United States, to share and listen to what they're doing with their applications. If you do have any questions related to today's webinar, feel free to give Anywhere a call or email us at the address that we'll show after this slide. Just to interrupt here, we do have a multi-value meet and greet sessions coming up in Melbourne, Sydney and Auckland in early September. If you wish to attend these events, they are very informal. They'll be in late afternoon, 3 o'clock at some hotels or function rooms within South Bank for Melbourne, Circular Quay in Sydney and Queen's Wharf in Auckland. Feel free to drop us an email and we can pop you through the details. It's a very informal, just talking with staff from Anywhere and organisations and customers that do turn up to the event. Thank you very much for your attendance today. And as I said, if you have any questions, feel free to contact Anywhere on phone number or email to the screen. Thanks for attendance and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.